'tis the season is a special cup of coffee. And every single batch of coffee that I roast, that I taste afterwards, I try to imagine a customer, someone at a cafe at home drinking it. And I would like people to enjoy this coffee as much as I do. And that's actually why I roast coffee, I would say.
We're looking for specific coffees. I mean, coffee is by its nature an agricultural product, right? So like all agricultural products, it has a season. I always say, go to the grocery store, buy a tomato, and it tastes like the cardboard it was shipped in. But when you go to the farmer's market and you buy a tomato when it's in season, that is what a tomato should taste like, right? Like that's when it's boom. That's the same approach we take for coffee. Like we want to get it in, sign off on it, get it in. We want to roast through it. We want to be done with it as soon as possible. If somebody says, Dale, what's your favorite coffee? I always say, whatever's next.
Letterpress printing in general on paper is two-dimensional. The process really starts with drawing, the basic elements of trying to get what's in here out here. You can bring emotion and depth through color and shape and those sorts of things. But it opens up an opportunity to try to stretch that flat surface into something that's a little bit more dimensional. And it's fun to let that challenge then drive the aesthetic, drive the colors, and then hopefully develop that kind of emotion.
If I take an Ethiopian coffee and compare it to a Sumatran coffee, processing methods are different, the seasons are different, the fruit and the flavor notes are different, and the roasting process to get the best out of those coffees is also going to be different.
But it all depends on the cupping. No matter what you do with the coffee, it all depends on how it tastes in your cup.
And on the cupping table, everything that we do roast-wise is informed by that experience. I mean, it's not one and the other. That's part A. Know what the coffee is, what it needs, what it can do, and then doing that.
There are mysterious points along the path that no matter how much you do, you can't predict. I have to imagine when we're in this process that it's not unlike roasting coffee beans, you grow them, you get them into the roaster and you start to play around with them and see where it goes and push things one way or another. But all those elements have their own personality, and you can either decide to accept that personality, and let that run, or edit that out. Printing is exactly the same way.
The Ethiopian is a natural coffee, and it's usually a faster roast, and we want to highlight acidity, brightness, and while the Sumatran, we know it's going to take longer. It usually takes about a minute, if not a minute and a half longer than the Ethiopia side. What we are reaching there is we are caramelizing slowly all those sugars, and while it is also a sweet coffee, it's definitely not the same kind of sweetness as the Ethiopian part. The Ethiopian part is more of a fruity and a bright sweetness, and the Sumatran part is more of a earthy, more of a molasses kind of sweetness. So the two of them combined really makes a special cup.
Well, when it comes together, it's just like magic, it's really satisfaction, it's just absolutely satisfactory.
At the same time that it's a huge responsibility, it's also a huge honor, I believe, for us to be able to roast the coffee that traveled for so long, that went for so many processes. And then we have the responsibility to make it up to that coffee and to that group of farmers.
There are so many things today that we want to capture, either photographically or we want to record them on our phones, you know? It's impossible to hold on to that forever. We can keep that memory, but this moment is special. You do all this work to get to that spot. You're not going to get the smell of freshly brewed coffee in your phone. You're not going to get the feeling that you have when you pick up the package and slide it open or open it up. You're not going to be able to capture that forever. And so I like that idea that we have to stop and pay attention right now, because it's not going to be here forever. And the only way I'm going to have this as long as I can is to take my time with it. It's certainly the holidays and we got to rush around, but hopefully 'Tis the Season gives you a moment to stop and reflect and think about the year and think about all the great things, you know, that are around.